Hey, it's Adrienne. Welcome back to my studio. Today I am going to show you the second part of how I mount artwork on watercolor paper to a cradled panel. I've removed the weights. I had left it 24 hours and so now it is adhered. I can see that there are no air bubbles, and I might remind you that I've left a little area to trim. So my supplies for today, I have a cutting mat, and you can get these at a hobby store or at an art supply like Jerry or Artorama. This is a small one. I've got a big one too, but this one will be fine for this work. I've got the artwork itself, which I'm going to put face down. You can use an X-Acto knife with a very sharp blade or a utility knife. I tend to use the utility knife because I find it easier to hold on to. I feel like I just kind of have to really, I don't know. If you've got really small hands, you might find this better. Mine are not particularly large, but this is softer to hold on to and it's larger. It just makes it easier. And what I'm going to do is trim this, and then I'm going to show you how I protect the surface of the artwork with gloss medium. So here we go. So all I do is, I make sure that this blade is sticking out pretty well. You know, you kind of want to go straight down to the extent that you can. I start a little before the edge of and I'm going to break this off. I can't remember the last time I used it, so bear with me while I do that. And I have one of these utility knives too, I should mention. I would not use this. I think it's easier to do it at an angle, so I just would not use that kind. But I'm going to, these are the kind that the blades snap off, so you can always have a fresh blade. There we go. And so I think I'll be better with making sure that I have a fresh blade and getting it out there all the way. So, okay. So I just, you want to apply a fair amount of pressure. You want to make sure that you are, and I'm a lefty. I kind of have to do this in a weird way. It's hard to see, I guess, but here, let me try it this way. So I do it, and I try to make sure I get through the whole thing on the first cut, but sometimes it's just hard. Your blade drifts away from the edge. You don't want to cut the wood, but you don't want to get too far away from the edge of the wood either. It's just you want a nice long cut. So that's one edge, you can see. And I've probably got a couple areas where, yep, I have to go back. That's okay, it'll be fine. And you know, once you finish this, you can actually sand it down a little bit, which I have done if I just have a little bump of paper sticking out that's difficult to get off. Okay, so that's, and you can see this is a little tiny bit raggedy. I tend to go over the artwork side and push it. You know, you can't trim from the art side, but yet you want it to go back. The paper tends to pop up a little bit. That's okay, it'll be fine. And then there is one little area here, so I may get to show you how to sand it. I'm gonna try one more time trimming it, and then if not, we'll just sand it. So that's it. And I'll try this one too, I don't think I've used this in a really long time, so I think the blade, this actually is on a smaller piece of artwork. Yeah, this is actually easier. You can see it's just smoother to do it. And this is because you can get the blade so close up to the edge. Yeah, I probably should have used this one. For something this small, it's really not that difficult. For something larger, it might just be a chore to hold on to, but this works much better, so glad I tried that. And then again, just starting before the wood itself and just with the blade following the edge of your, whoops, there I just cut into the wood. You're not supposed to do that. let me make sure I get back without doing the wood, yeah. So anyhow, you want to follow along as best you can. Oops, that's not all the way off. Let's just try to get that again. Yeah, it's harder to push. This one is definitely harder to work with as far as getting through all the paper. And this is just 140-pound watercolor paper. I would really try to work with a more substantial utility blade if I were doing 300-pound watercolor paper on a larger panel, which I have done. So let's just keep at this since I'm managing to cut it in about 3 places. But you'll see, once you get through all this, it doesn't really matter much. Try to go at it the opposite way, which I know you can't see, so I apologize, but you just gotta do what you gotta do. And you can see, this is what I'm talking about. You know, it's just so easy to accidentally leave this little tiny smidge, but here you go. You can get it, and it'll be fine. You can go either way, whichever you're comfortable. You just need a steady hand for this, you really do. So that's 1, 2. Probably ought to change this blade too, but 3. Looks like I did all 3, okay. If I didn't, I did a good job of lining it up. Okay, and that was the easiest of them all, so you see how that went. All right, so again, I'm just going to, from the front, kind of work with the paper a little bit, roll it down. Just to make sure that it's not sticking up towards the front of the artwork. You can see, I think I nicked the wood right here, or maybe that's just a piece of paper, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna sand that before I do anything much else. And I've got one little area right here that I'm gonna try to hit with this blade. And I, again, apologize, I know you can't see this, but I'm just going the opposite way. And since I'm a lefty, I've just gotta do what I've gotta do on this. Here we go. So there's that, very small piece, but just kind of want it to be smooth. All right, so I didn't get out my sanding pad, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to find it real quick. And this is a really fine sanding, like a very fine or an extra fine or something like that. It's not exactly new, as you can see, but I'm just going to fix these edges a little bit. I just want it to be really, really smooth. I don't want to be able to look at it and see what I've done. Okay, and then I've got a little piece of paper right here I probably need to get, but I'm going to sand the rest. Just look for anything else. Nope, that all looks pretty good except for that one little area. Again, one more time, where you can't see. Yeah, so, and then I just need to smooth it down. So it's not too hard. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. So now I'm going to make sure, need to be kind of dust free on this, so I'm going to move this pad. I am going to take my paper off, and I'm going to just get a damp, just maybe spray water, just water, with a paper towel or a rag or whatever you have, just to make sure that there's no dust from the sanding or from working on it. Okay, so that's it. We're ready to go. This is a little abstract painting, and it's just where I was experimenting with colors and experimenting with a technique to make kind of a very ethereal wash. Anyhow. Okay, that all looks good. That's everything. So now, what I've got, I use Golden. I get this from Jerry's Artorama, and it is gloss medium. And I don't use it full strength. I keep it in a jar. You have to eat the gelato first, I guess. But so gloss medium, it's about 2/3 gloss medium and 1/3 water, and it just depends. But if it's thicker paper, I might go with a 50-50 mix first and then a more medium for the second coat. But what I do, and this is the same foam brush that I used to, not that this is not the very same foam brush, but the same type of foam brush that I used to put the gel medium on to adhere the paper to the surface. So I just get the brush slightly wet, and then I just go in basically really all directions across the surface. There's no particular, I just want to make sure I'm getting it every place. There's no particular way I'm doing this other than not to go in a straight line. I just think I think you can see the strokes more if you go in a straight line across, or, you know, horizontally or vertically. And this really, it just kind of settles the surface. It makes the surface more homogeneous, whether you want a matte finish or a gloss finish or something in between. I just think it kind of settles everything in. Sometimes when I'm painting on canvas, I do this when I have it a certain way that I want to kind of preserve it, and then I'll put a coat of medium on it, and then I can work on it some more, but it just kind of finishes it to the point where I can see, in my way of thinking, what's next. So anyhow, on this, okay, that's one coat. This is so small, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do the sides as well, and I'll show you what I do. I wasn't planning on painting these sides, although you certainly can, but when I do the sides, it's just a real quick thing. I wanna make sure, the main thing is not to have any drips. So, but you want to protect it, because raw wood, if people touch it, or, you know, something will get on it, you can't really get it off. So I just go around all 4 sides with the same 2/3, 1/3 of gloss medium. And then if I see anything, like I do have a little piece right there I'm gonna have to sand, I can do that, and I will do a second coat on this. But this is really important. After you do this, sit it on something. You probably can't see that, but maybe it's too close. But even if it's something low like this, it can be anything truly. You just want to keep it off the surface of the table so that it doesn't adhere to your tabletop or your plastic. And always work across plastic, because this is, if it gets on things, it's just not worth the trouble to, I guess it goes that way. It's not worth the trouble to try to get off of furniture. So anyhow, that's where we stand right now. I will let that dry. I will sand it, and then I will probably put a second coat on. Well, I'll definitely put a second coat on it. I go around the edges after I do the sides. I just go around the edges, just because you'll tend to get a little bead of medium. And right at first, I tend to watch this and just make sure that I don't have anything dripping. If you do have drips, you can sand it, but easier not to get them in the first place. Okay, that's pretty much the process. Thanks for watching.